Thank you. Here's some money under the table of the bag. Hey, what's that for? Did you give him a 1099 after? Okay. Looks like I'm a little overdressed for this group. Yeah. That can heavy. How many suits do you have, Justin? 40? No, maybe 15. Yeah. Change it out a little bit. We're ready to go. All right. Pair of socks for every occasion.
So, our work session this morning is gonna involve, elected commissioner roles in local government. You got Justin here. Tina, so.
You know, and it's been a few years since, you know, I came and, you know, had this conversation. And I think there's been a lot of change. Not necessarily in the faces, but in what the board has for goals. And just want to make sure we're all aligned on that, same questions. You know, there's also been spirited debate amongst the commissioners, and there's nothing wrong with that. Different people have different opinions. You know, and that's, I guess, where I'd like to start. Board members can have personal opinions. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, I think what is important when you're talking to your constituents or you're talking with your partners to differentiate between what your opinion is and what the board actually did. We can't go out and represent something as a county position when it's not the county's position. And it's, you know, only the personal opinion of a commissioner. You know, we're gonna have a public meeting where we'll talk about more of, you know, how at least I envision, and if there's differences or if there's questions on, you know, the various settings that you guys are put in. You know, it could be, you know, Dwight's opinion was, you know, shotguns kill people and rifles kill people, and, you know, there's not, you know, a differentiation between the two for purposes of hunting. But if the board ultimately says we're gonna be a shotgun zone, you know, you have your personal opinion, but, you know, you also have the board stance, and you can disagree with the board stance. You know, I think the one thing that the board has done a good job at is developing this committee structure. And part of the committee structure is, so, you know, the chain of command, making sure that, you know, if Troy gets a complaint about roads or highway, okay, it's not Troy's role as a county commissioner. He can have the conversation, but, you know, those issues, that's why we have a highway committee. You know, certainly there has been questions, and there will always be questions over, you know, compensation, benefits, and things like that. You know, and, you know, I think the board has tried hard to stay competitive in that, but not everyone's always going to be satisfied. You know, but that's why we have, you know, a personnel committee. You know, so the point I'm trying to make is we have these committees to address these various issues, and those need to be referred to those committees, you know, for a variety of reasons, for consistency, for transparency. You know, I like that the board has been consistent in their committee assignments, because, you know, those commissioners who serve on the various committees then, you know, have a, you know, particular knowledge about the issues that are being addressed. You know, and that's I think, the process that we want to have. You know, someone is unsatisfied with their compensation. Well, that's something we need to talk to the personnel committee about. You know, someone's not happy with their garbage service. And yesterday it was my fault that I put my can too close to the road. Got a call from my wife that, well, now I gotta go pick up garbage. You know, but that's why we have, you know, those committees to vet them and to lift up to the board as a whole. You know, recommendations, which the board may or may not, you know, accept. But particularly when, you know, we have 4 bargaining units now in the county. And we have to be, you know, vigilant that we're not, you know, at all levels, at a commissioner level, at a department head level, at a committee level, even at a board level, you know, especially with our union partners, we have to follow a protocol if there are things that, you know, are missed that need to be adjusted. You know, we try our best during negotiations, but, you know, I don't know if Ashley has brought it or is bringing it. We included new language for courthouse employees and failed to recognize that the custodian is kind of a different animal within, you know, that bargaining group. So, you know, as a general rule, you know, if a department identifies an issue, you know, and they bring it, you know, to a committee, or, you know, there's a chain of command that, you know, I think this board has recognized would work the best to address the issues before the board. You know, certainly we're going to rely on our department heads to, you know, identify those issues. And certainly department heads, you know, have different relationships with different county commissioners. You know, a slew of department heads are going to have a great relationship with Dwight because they work with him. You know, and they may lift up an issue to him. It might not, you know, and that's fine. They might lift it up directly to the committee. But I think that they're, you know, the structure that you want to have in place is to, you know, follow that department head committee and up to the board. Any issues with the committee structure or questions at this point?
I have a question. I can't think of a very specific example, but let's say there's something that is quite important and maybe debatable, controversial in a sense. Should the committee members be conversing with the respective commissioner ahead of a meeting to get their consensus, to bring them up to speed rather than be debated in a formal meeting? Or something informative, this is where we're at, da 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 da.
You know, I think it generally depends on, you know, the issue. You know, and I think that when, you know, a board member is a representative of a committee, you know, brings, you know, a recommendation to the board. That the dialogue that, you know, occurred that resulted in a recommendation, and it might not be a unanimous recommendation, you know, is brought forth so the board has that complete structure and texture. You know, we also have to be mindful about, you know, open meeting laws and that we're not, you know, conducting business, you know. So if there is, you know, a significant or, you know, insignificant but yet controversial issue that, you know, it would be appropriate for the board to have a dialogue on, you know, that would be, you know, a good forum for, You know, a work session just like this to, you know, talk through those issues, get the committee members and, you know, any affected department head employees present to, you know, vet the issues, you know, and not take up board time. You know, I think, you know, we just went through a contract cycle and the personnel committee, of course, is engaged with the unions on that. It involves the, you know, the livelihood of our employees. It involves, you know, the use of taxpayer dollars and, you know, what health insurance does. We know what wages have done, you know, and, you know, I think it's important for the board as a whole to know, you know, how we arrived at this package. You know, what are the good things about it? What are the bad things about it? You know, so the new legislation about, you know, the rifles, you know, it was appropriately identified that that was going to be an issue where there's going to be opinions on both sides. You know, and the board, I think, appropriately held a, you know, a work session to get that information. So, you know, in that vein, you know, we have, you know, your interaction, you know, is probably going to take 5 different sorts of, you know, settings. You're going to have constituents, employees, department heads come to you with issues. You know, that's going to happen. That's information gathering. You know, I think we're identifying issues of our employees, of our constituents. You know, of course, if someone's bringing a new topic or a new issue to you, you know, you can certainly give them your thoughts. I'm not trying to hamstring anyone here. But, you know, giving an assurance that you're going to get something done other than, you know, addressing the issue, you know, is the wrong thing. You know, I don't tell private clients, I don't tell crime victims, I don't tell cops that we're going to go to court and we're going to win. Because courts, you know, judges are human beings who sometimes make mistakes. And you put 12 people or 6 people in a room and you don't know what's going to happen. I remember the first case I tried. It was a gross misdemeanor criminal damage to property that happened up in Ashby at bathrooms or something. And I thought I had a good case. I didn't know the people. And I had a member from a family that strong DFL, and I had a member from a family who was strong Republican, and that jury went 5-1 this way and then 1-5 this way, and you know, there was just a personality conflict that presented any resolution in that jury hung. You know, I think, you know, the message is to hear them and to let them know that you're going to funnel it, you know, in the right direction to get addressed. You know, and, you know, the second issue or the second setting is going to be those committees. You know, and I think all of you do a good job of gathering the information and working within those settings, whether it's public safety or, you know, even the outside boards. And, you know, one thing that we did when it was suggested that we should have someone other than board members and county employees on the strategic planning committee is make it very clear that, you know, there is no position unless it's a position of a committee. You know, and the position of the committee might not be your position. You know, and there's nothing wrong with bringing up that dissent. You know, and then we have the meetings where you guys are all going to be together. You know, we're going to have work sessions like this. That's for discussion only. No action is being taken. It's educational. you know, it was appropriate when we had the one with the rifle shotgun issue that there wasn't a informal poll. It's not a caucus. You know, where you guys meet. In fact, you know, taking a straw poll might in and of itself violate the purpose of having a work session. It's just to get information. It's an opportunity for the board members to discuss amongst themselves anything they want to about the specific topic and ask a question of those in attendance. It's, you know, still the board running the meeting. You know, and then we have your regular board meetings, you know, and those are where official business is taken. Where, you know, the policy of the county is established. Whether it's a 3-2 policy action or a unanimous policy action, it is nonetheless the directive of the board unless and until it's changed. And, you know, then we will have, you know, public hearings, you know, and those are range from conditional use permits to ones that are called by the board as a whole. And that's where, you know, members of the public get to come and express their opinion. And, you know, the board is there to listen and to answer questions, so. Miss anything?
I got one thing, just
Yeah.
I know what you're saying. Because of all the years I was working well with you guys, stuff. You know, we would gather information from people. And I would always say to the victims or just even to the suspect, I suppose, that I can't guarantee anything here. I can listen to it, but I can't guarantee anything to you. And I can't promise you anything. So that's always been in the back of my head. And I've told a lot of people since I got to be a commissioner, I'm just one person here. Here's my opinion, but I'm just one. And that's how it's gotta be. Yeah, so.
You know, in our structure, my job is, you know, to advise you what you can and can't do. You know, and not what you should and you shouldn't do. You know, I had a constituent one morning over coffee. I was sitting in my robe and my wife thought that Grant County should keep a license bureau. And I go, well, here's Dwight's number. He's your county commissioner. You give him a call. You know, I don't have any special authority with the coordinator structure. The coordinator has, you know, it literally is a verbatim sort of role, you know, to make the committees work together and get things to the board. And sometimes there are questions about, you know, what committee should, you know, when you have turnover in departments, you know, is that a strategic planning? Is that a personnel? You know, so there are, you know, some crossover. You know, there's not always bright lines. But, you know, our jobs as department heads is to, you know, once you determine what the policy or what the decision is, it is to make that decision happen. You know, I've seen things that the board's done where I shake my head, but that's not my role. You know, I think you know, when you were sheriff, I think you had the same thing. And
Oh, yeah.
A procedure question, if now you can have a member revolt. And when Troy was gone, we had to have all the votes. Well, roll call.
Yep.
If Troy had, I'll use your example, if Troy had said, you know, looking at the agenda, I'm gonna abstain from all votes, could we have done it the other four of us just read record votes and he would have been just observing the meeting. Not that I didn't want you to vote, but I'm just saying,
I get what you're saying.
it's a little bit.
No, I would have separate abstentions on each of the votes.
So then we, okay, so each vote, he could say, I'm gonna abstain because I'm not present, then we could add a traditional in-house vote, just aye, rather than roll call.
Out of an abundance of caution, I would still have a roll call vote.
For everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
As long as the person has heard the discussion, right? That plays a big role in that roll call, right?
I do. I recall sitting in the courtroom. Commissioner Hoff was remote. And he lost his connection and was not permitted to vote on the topic.
Yeah.
Seems to me I remember that meeting.
Thank you for bringing that up.
On the line of procedures, I think maybe another important part would be when Justin talked about, you know, the different types of meetings, the official board meetings, the work sessions, and then public hearings. Dwight and I had a conversation about procedures or how public hearings would be handled, and just as long as, you know, everyone's together today, and we have a public hearing coming up next week. And Dwight, you can speak more to it, but we're gonna, and Dwight, you've done it a couple times in the past too, where you they're kind of set up some ground rules of how the meeting or the public hearing will be conducted. And maybe you wanna talk about that a little bit, Dwight, since we have one coming up.
I can remember all of them, but, the biggest thing is that, you know, we don't want a bunch of people just jumping in, you know, talking back and forth. So we're gonna have a podium there, where they can come up to the podium and tell us what they're thinking. And then, you know, it just takes away some of the, you know, confusion. It gets confusing when everybody's talking, and it's gonna be a very, you know, it's gonna be a emotional meeting for these people. And, so that was one thing that I wanted to do. Limit, you know, to a couple minutes, over some of the other stuff there.
As part of that rotating, making sure that,
Yeah,
you know, it's good to have the protocols. You know, sometimes you know, and I'll share an example, not from Grant County, after Aaron Jordan went to Meeker or McLeod, I helped Stevens County out on a methane gas injection site. And their room was full with the planning commission meeting. Commissioner Wohlers did his best to abide by, you know, you have 3 minutes, everyone gets their turn, everyone gets their chance. Things should not be repetitive. I like the idea of a podium because then you know who is addressing the board. I think that's a good idea.
and then, like you said earlier, the straw votes, that's kind of, I think,
Not work sessions, especially.
yeah, so.
You know, there are public meetings where you're going to have.
And then this down here now, this hearing is a work session, right?
Yeah.
Is that what it's called, or is
It's
it
a
a
public
commissioner
hearing.
meeting?
That's it.
It's a public hearing.
Okay, so it's a little bit different, work session, I suppose, but.
Well, how it was explained to me through the AMC training is that a work session is for the board to have discussions amongst themselves and to take, you know, if there's people in the room, ask them questions, things like that. A public hearing is more of a listening session for the board to be present. It's more for the public to come and provide their feedback on issues.
There are public hearings. So take, for example, an application for a conditional use permit. You know, and we had one where there was significant public hearing surrounding Patchen and Shower. Okay, that's part of our process and our ordinance that, you know, when we have conditional use permits, the public gets to come in and they get to say. But ultimately, the board, you know, can make a decision on whether or not to grant that, what conditions are appropriate, deny it, or table it, which I think was done. You know, the important thing would be to,
The planning commission does, right? And then that recommendation comes to a board, official board meeting. Or,
and then the board, I think, took that from the planning commission because it was,
Well, that public hearing was inside of a regular board meeting.
yeah,
So once the hearing was over, then we took action.
and this,
We didn't take action at the hearing.
right. So, but this public hearing is going to be separate and apart from a regular board meeting. And unless it is noticed that you intend to take action, no action will be taken.
I've got another question, Justin. So we're talking about the roles of the county commissioner. What happens if there's an appearance or a situation where it appears another elected official, department head, maybe off the rails or out of bounds or out of role? Who's in charge? And I know the public is the voters, but where are the guardrails and that?
Where are the guardrails? You know, there has to be a complaint for misfeasance or malfeasance. Okay, or non-feasance. You know, and there's a process to throw them down. Deal with that. You know, I think that there's an issue or a concern that would likely go to the personnel committee.
That would be the committee that the personnel would weigh in on that also.
Right.
Okay, that's a little bit what I was wondering, which committee, it wouldn't be you directly, it would be more after the personnel.
But me being obtuse or argumentative with the board is my prerogative,
Yeah, no, I'm not.
not fulfilling my statutory obligation, different matter.
Okay. Do we have any other questions for Justin, Dina, or? All right, thank you, Justin. That's the end of the work session there. We got 3 minutes. You have raised or what? Sure, it's the. That's where I'm going.
Regularly, started my gun.
I've been making it anymore.
Your West Lake, if they can turn on the lake.
Whatever you turn
So
on.
that's good. I might have went good, but
Yeah.
never know with the ice and the weather, what the heck will happen.
It's never seen so many fish houses all.
You probably would like to not see it again until, you know, the next tournament.
Is there a lot of it? There was only about probably maybe 15, 20.
Okay,
But I mean, the big walleye was 27 inches.
Where was that
Ostrich.
No,
And then,
elk.
the bigger bass
Yeah,
was
they had
12
little,
inches.
they're pretty tough.
Yeah, it was a monster.
oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Any big crappies?
Not a single crappie came in.
Really?
Yep, 10 1/4 perch and a 9 1/2 inch sunfish.
Yeah, I had mine.
Yeah.
That's not right.
Yep.
15.5, 16-inch crappie.
Yeah.
Lee's
come through.
25 one day, one evening.
Well, Tina's got one on the wall at 16 1/4. Yep, she had a rail on Peterson.
Any size on him?
That was somebody-
He's the biggest one, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yep,
I had
have a 12
first time
inch on the
I
wall.
fished, I got an 18 and 2 16, and then I kept the 14, I kept the 14. And then Tony kept, he was standing outside with his grandkids, just outside my fish house.
And they had.
So I went out and seen it, and he's got,
release.
yes, so he's fixed.
I was wondering how
And
that.
I'm gonna, I didn't see it all 20 years ago.
No, everything has to
And
go
I
back.
got an order.
There was actually, yeah,
And did not like that.
Actually, what are you gonna do with it?
They weren't that size, so that they'll on there, the way not involved, said, all right, that'll.
As I said, hey, once you eat, they're not real cold, cause he was beat red and straight.
It was an 18-inch wall, which is a
You
good.
better step in.
You know, and then it was like,
He was, you know, sort of warmed up, and then he went back out, and then he come back in, and he goes, we got somebody, like, yeah, we just have it or something. Like that. Said, well, you know. He was like,
No,
yeah,
I think it's right, like,
It's like.
so they had to wait right down there, their fires they had, where and he went up there and had him. They got back, he didn't know how it was gonna proceed. He said, so we thought he could do it. It's been a good. Exactly.
Fire, fire, on-site grapple.
So.
It's 9 o'clock.
He stood there, he stood there. 45.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And that's kind of.
All right, so rearranging the furniture here.
Okay. So, we're, approval of the agenda. Are there any additions to the agenda? If not, I'll,
Hearing none, I'll make the motion, Mr. Chair.
okay. Do we have a second?
Oh, sorry.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, for the approval of the agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, approval of the minutes.
Morning, Rick Bruder minutes.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the minute. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the minute? Hearing none. All in favor of approval of the minutes, signify by saying aye. Aye. Against? And it's approved. Approval of the warrants. So what are we gonna do with the auditor? We don't have those.
I will send them out as soon as I get back.
Okay, so. When we look at approving them, are we gonna just approve all of them and then, like, I'm not gonna sign that until I've seen them? The checks wouldn't go out till Friday anyway.
Mhm.
So if anyone, I mean, if we're gonna approve them, then anyone that would object would have to let Tina and Chad know to not pay that particular thing.
Okay.
And then Tina will just have to sit on that, I mean, cause I'm not gonna sign it until I've seen them, and then I don't know what everybody else's thoughts are, but that. Tina can just hold on to that until,
And so, just so the full board is aware, I made a mistake. I received the warrants on Friday. And I thought that I had forwarded them on to the board and I did not, and I accidentally deleted them. And so when I realized that it was after hours, so I couldn't get them out to the board. So you have the commissioner warrants in front of you, and I will ask Hillary for her help, if she can issue them and I can forward them out, but that is my mistake, because they were sent to me on Friday.
so if, when we get them, review them, if anybody has questions they can't get answered, let Tina and Chad know. We'll have to either have a special meeting or have. So then this, signature sheet, we bring that to the next meeting then? Well, what I would say is between now and Friday, if you reviewed them and you're okay with them being paid, stop and Tina will have it and you just sign it then. Okay.
And my apologies again, because my mistake, because they were sent to me on Friday.
What warrants are you missing?
The auditor warrants. I somehow deleted them. And when I realized that, it was after hours, so I didn't wanna call you guys after hours.
But you have the commissioner warrants in front of you?
Yes,
Okay, well, the commissioner warrants are the only warrants that the board would approve. The board does not approve the auditor warrants. The auditor warrants are warrants that we do twice a month, that our office has been delegated to make payment on, and those warrants have already been issued. Those payments are already gone.
Okay, they've already been approved, like through contracts and that.
They're reoccurring bills, like your utility bills and your contract payments. Any bills that have not been previously approved or designated to our office to be able to pay with an auditor warrant would be included in your commissioner warrants.
Okay, thank you. Then I'll make a motion to pay the bills and I'll sign. Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Bill. Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. And I'll keep that for you, right? Okay, Reed. You're up, I guess.
We're good.
Morning, Reed.
Oh, I got a handful of things for you. The first one is. So I'll say, sorry, these were supposed to come last month, but then with some stuff with my little one, it kind of got delayed for a little while. So. This is the first one I want to go through is how our 2025 went. It's virtually about the same as 2024. We don't usually see a lot of fluctuation in tonnages or, increase in stuff recycled or anything like that, but. We did have some, pretty good participation in keeping recycling the way it is too, and we had, another 4 or 5, businesses participate in the organics program. And then we had some more folks in the non-mandatory, so those, not in Lake Shore, not in cities, got some service set up, so we kind of got rid of some of that self-hauling or the burn barrel stuff, so that was good. We completed our 10-year plan, so now we're good for another 10 before we gotta go through that again. So, as far as that part, those are kind of 25 updates for the coming year, 26 this year. We're gonna keep making those updates and changes to the routes that we've been talking about for a little while now. We're gonna start looking at the ordinance, because that's pretty dated, and try and coordinate that with some of these changes and make a much better document than what we have. And then I'm gonna work with Tina and do some of the increased education stuff to try and get some of the recycling or the organics numbers up and get some folks figured out there. So. I don't. If you guys want, I can go through that report deal that shows tonnages and deals with. It's pretty similar to what we had in years past. It's. Each city is about the same. Ashby had a pretty big jump, but. Me and Mike talked about that part, why it jumped and all that, but. So they're up to about 2% almost, which is kind of a lot for a lot of our stuff. Usually they fluctuate like a half to 1 maybe, so, but. Other than that, that's kind of all I had for that one. That's more just FYI, unless any of you had questions on that.
Questions, no?
Okay.
We're gonna move on to the East Side Oil Company, all their license and contract, is that what we're doing next?
Yep. So what that is in our ordinance, in order for a company to business here, we have to have a contract with them and a hauler license and a solid waste ordinance. So this one is with Eastside Oil. They handle our used oil, oil filters and antifreeze down at the recycling center. We've used them for a number of years. They come and show up when we want them to. They're pretty reasonable priced and they do a lot of the other businesses here in Holland and Farm County, so. What I need from you guys is approval of the contract with it and then the hauler license together. And the pricing is the same as it was last year and I think the year before. But you have changed.
If you change it to Doyle Novotny instead of Doyle Spear, I'll
That
make
part-
a motion to approve it.
Yep, that part got fixed too, because it went out in November, but a lot of these companies end up getting back to you about now, so. I still got one more that's working on that, so yep, that part will be fixed.
Okay, Troy made a motion, do we have a second? I'll second it. Okay, well, any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question, all in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Alright, and then the next one is a very similar one with the retrofit company, which is the folks that handle all our electronic waste. And our batteries and light bulbs and that kind of stuff. Their pricing also stayed the same for the last couple of years, so that is. Basically the same idea, they need a license in order to haul stuff from center to their place to process them, so. And then there'll also be that change where it'll say Dwight instead of Doug at the end of that contract as well.
So do we have a motion on the retrofit company hauler licenses contract? So, right, do we have a second?
Second.
No, Bill made the second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
Alright, and the last one is the solid waste and store budgets. They are now pretty much done. Just have to wait on one thing for the discussion with you guys here. So if you remember a couple months back, I came to a work session and we talked about the issues and some stuff with the rural routes and how they've kind of been left alone for quite some time. They haven't seen any increases and that's where I made this year. I said, okay, these are where I think the increases should go based on, I know that in, 27 or 8, we're planning to make some decent changes to this program, like we'd mentioned before. So that's where we did that, but there's also a second option where you could pick to go back and try and figure out the years past increases and then kind of average that out, which gets pretty complicated because you're trying to figure out past budget, past tipping fee, past stuff versus the other way, we kind of know where we're going in 28, it looks like, based on the solid waste committee stuff on making those switches to doing more vendor-based billing versus the county being the middleman. So that's kind of your version 1 versus version 2 there on the row routes, which is there's a 2-page cheat sheet that is in that packet that Tina had sent you. So, and when we're done here, then I'll kind of ask which route you want to go with, but I'll kind of just go through the 2 budgets first here. So for solid waste, there's only kind of 2 ways we make money. We bill folks on taxes or we build cities. So then as far as things that cost us money is disposal of stuff and hauling stuff away. Those are kind of the two main things that cost. So, and this year the tipping fee went up from 101 to 105. So that's that 4% that Coke Douglas is allowed to increase. So, and we're under contract with them till 2031. That's kind of the gist on that one, other than there's a line item you'll see at the very bottom for school county share. And that is the amount the recycling program is short every year to cash flow to make it a zero sum balance or a balanced budget. So that's kind of where we offset that and pull the money from solid waste back there. So for some recycling stuff, unless you guys had questions on solid waste. Yeah, so recycling, the main couple ways we make the money there, we have money coming in are, we have some rural assessments on the folks that don't live in town and aren't on the lake shore. And then we get state money, and then the recycling center brings in a little bit of money there, not really much to cover, but it helps offset some of the costs. And then we get some city money, and then that money we take from solid waste is a big portion of where money comes from, about half of what it takes to run the program. So, and that is a state required program, so. As far as what costs us money is running the recycling center and then again hauling and disposal of those items. Those are kind of the main deals. It's a pretty straightforward stuff. I really tried to make the line items and the amounts as close to the actual dollars it costs us as it can and make the line item say exactly what it's for. And try not to lump a bunch of stuff. It's a lot of splitting stuff out and making it so this is what A costs, this is what B is, and then straight line. And you'll see at the end of the score budget there, it looks like there's like $8,500 left over. But that is what we use then to do the municipal hazardous waste program. So it, again, is a balanced budget, so. As far as that, there wasn't too many changes in either budget this year, other than organics went up at Pope Douglas. Recycling is set to be the same till about September, then we'll have that conversation with Tipping Fee. The last meeting, we approved that contract out through there, so. Other than that, those are kind of the high points. Now the question I have for you guys is, how do you want to do the rural assessments? There's the looking forward, how we know where we're going kind of way, or there's the looking back and try and calculate it. And you'll see that the difference in dollars isn't very much. It's $5 a year at the top end, so it isn't a lot. To me, it's more the principle. You're looking forward, you know where we're going, we got a plan. We're trying to make things a lot more fair, easy to understand. Opposed to that volume-based deal where, you know, all the Lakeshore folks got carts this year, and it sounds like that's going well so far through the first month here, so. It's kind of up to you guys how you wanna, which route you wanna go there.
Mr. Chair, I got a question. Reading what, well, our state score grants
Yep.
coming out, it shows a permanent increase of about 3%.
Yep.
Okay, now is that a yearly thing that they're gonna give us on
No,
inflator, or where's that?
No,
all at?
they, not last year, but the year before, they did a 3% increase from our 70-some thousand.
Yeah,
So then they had that was the year they had extra money. And then I think they decided permanently now that they're just gonna keep it at that increased 3% level that we get now, that $83,000.
so that'll plateau now for
That'll be
2
flat.
years.
It's,
They decided. that
unless they
last-
decide less, or we get more, yeah, whatever they
Last
decide.
year, let's see what they decide this year.
We'll see, that was what they said before, but
Right. Right.
kind of at their mercy on that one.
Well, it was 57,000.
Yeah, forever.
Way back when, so it's bumped up a little bit there.
Mhm, and it,
It all
I mean, it
helps.
does help, but decent bit offset a lot of the costs that we get, and, you know, it's never enough to cover the program, but it does help.
Never was meant to. though.
No, it's just meant to help offset the
Right.
costs, which it helps run our recycling center and do all those things.
Thank you.
Any other thought? What do you think?
Well, the committee's asking which version do we wanna go with, 1 or 2? I mean, if you do the version 1, pretty straightforward, it's the midpoint from where we were last year to where we'll be next year. Okay. And it's at most about $5, that's 2, 4,
That's not much. It's like.
it's 5, at the most expensive, it's $5 more
It's
for the year. To just split the difference. But I don't know that that's necessarily a recommendation from the committee, as this is just your 2 options.
Yeah. And note that either way, when you pick, you're still, the folks on those routes are paying less than the folks who are not on the routes. So if you were like Troy,
Yeah.
not on the road, you pay 387. Versus the folks on the road here, you're gonna pay 325, 330. Depending on which route you guys go, so you're still a decent bit
Right.
less.
It's over 360 for every other, well, twice a month being picked up.
That's like the 387 is like, it's a contracted once a month pickup. I would go with version 1 just because it's a lot more straightforward. It's, we know where A and B is and we just flip them. Try to make the changes as easy to discuss with, property owners and other folks and. I think.
Based on that, I think we should go with number 1 personally,
It's less than 50 cents a month.
so. So do we need a motion on this?
Yep, so what I would do is a motion to pass the budgets and then a motion to pass the rural assessment. Special assessment for recycling together. We traditionally haven't done a separate motion for those two, but talking with a couple of you, that sounds like that is maybe how we should do that part now. So.
Okay, so we're gonna need, 3 different motions then. Is that what you're saying, or?
I would say two.
How are you gonna do it?
So there's the budget and what was the second one?
The assessments for rural residents, so the Lakeshore folks, and then the recycling assessment one as well. Just to approve both of those, this.
So. Do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion on, what was the first one?
The budget?
I kept up here,
I'm a little confused.
the version 1.
Yes, yeah, sorry, it was mostly I had to let you guys kind of pick, that was Troy's recommendation too, instead of having me trying to just pick one and go. Give you the option, let you work your way through which
The
one. you-
rural garbage assessment would be
Yeah.
the one you're making a motion on.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
And which version was your motion for?
Version 1, yeah.
Okay, do we have a second?
Oh, sorry.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried.
And we need one to the budget as well, right?
For the budget,
Yeah, for the solid waste and the sewer budgets.
okay. So moved. We have a motion by Doyle, you have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, Bill? Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. You got them, Gina, then?
I do, I am just going to read them just to make sure. So the first motion. Made by Ken Johnson and seconded by Doyle Spear was for option 1 regarding the assessments for rural routes. The second motion that was made by Doyle Spear and seconded by Bill LaValle was to pass both the solid waste and SCORE budgets.
Sounds good to me.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you, Reed. All right. I'll leave you alone. How are you doing?
Good, thank you. Good morning. I am here this morning to give a 2025 year end update for the recorder's office. We collected a total of $445,863.12 this past year. We recorded 1,604 documents, which is up from 2024. Of those documents, 792 of them were e-records, which means they were sent electronically. We had an increase in marriage applicants this year, or in 25, so we ended with 31. Passports kept us busy. We had 270 applicants, and we took 363 pictures. So that was a big increase for us as well. We continue to back index daily when time allows. We are currently back indexed to 1994. So our Laredo subscribers and people searching Tapestry can find documents that go back to 94. Our Laredo Connect went live in November. That's going well. We're adjusting to the online payment portal. But it's going well overall. And winter conference is coming up next week that I'll be attending, Tuesday through Thursday.
I have a question for you, Joe. So you said you were indexing back to 94.
Mhm.
Okay, how does that all work?
So
So you gotta just go into your books and,
yeah, so we have all of our deed books scanned in, so many of our mortgages, all of our miscellaneous, and I don't know the exact number of satisfaction books, but they're scanned into our system. So we pull up different queues through Avid, and we enter in the grantor grantee information and the legal descriptions. So if there is a Laredo subscriber or somebody searching on Tapestry, they can go in and search by name or legal description and parcel numbers, but not all of our documents have parcel numbers attached to them.
okay,
So yeah, if somebody comes into our office, we can either pull the track books, that go back to the beginning of time, or we can pull it up on Laredo, and depending on how far back it goes, they'll be able to search that way as well.
okay. Thank
So,
you.
Mr. Chair, I got a question.
Yep.
Holly Joe, it looks like it's 100,000 more than it was last year on revenue collected. How much of that was MRT tax and state D tax?
MRT was 151,036.79.
Okay.
That was MRT, and D-Tex was 166,684.
Okay, so we range about that 300,000 per year.
Um,
Right, in that pool, between those two?
Yeah, I can look back to 24. D-Tex last year was 164,240.88, and MRT was 72,127.54.
It's kind of stays.
Yeah, there's an increase with mortgage, MRT this year, but yeah, D-Tax is pretty close,
Well, you're gonna see that probably in the regular mortgages,
right?
or it's collected.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Oh, anybody else have anything for Holly?
No.
Okay, thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
Okay,
Good morning, I'll be quick. We just have the Central Minnesota Emergency Manager Committee, and I am on that. Greg Lillimon was the alternate on that. And so just an oversight, as Greg retired, I did not update that document, but as we were getting ready for the conference this year, they mentioned that we need to make sure those documents are updated, so we've just changed Greg out for Tina. She has a small amount of emergency management background, so we thought she would be a good fit there. And so, simply just a new document with Tina instead of Greg. So.
okay, we need a motion to approve that.
So move. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried.
Easy. Thank you.
And Mr. Chair, if I can talk a little bit, thank you for our attendance on, emergency services board and everything like that. We're up where we need to be. And I think it's a great thing, and it shows because we get that attendance record on our board packets, Dwight and I both do. Every so, and we all talk about it. And I think the only one that was down was, what county was it, down on the bottom of the part of their sheet. I can't remember. I don't remember which one it was. Everybody's struggling a little bit, well, we're up to speed now on it, which is great. Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, Ashley.
All right, so I am here, looking for some guidance on license bureau, so that position did close. We received 8 applications. And so looking for some guidance on how you wanna proceed. If you, as the full board, want to interview all, if you want to have a committee or a group of people narrow them down. What is that magic number of who you, or how many you'd like to interview? I guess just looking for some guidance on how you'd like to proceed.
Anybody have any thoughts on how to proceed with that? How many there's 8?
Well, Mr. Chair, I got a question. So when you get that many applicants, don't you, as a personnel committee, vet the strongest three and move forward with that?
Yep, so we usually typically interview, most qualified, depending on who they are and sort through them that way. So it's up to you if you'd like that done, and then how many you'd like to interview.
I have a comment. I think the personnel committee should look at it, but I don't know, excuse me, that we should put a number on it. Rather, it should be what their opinion is on most qualified, or that the potential to fill the position.
Mm.
Cause it could be 4 or 5, whatever. I'd say that there's kind of the need to make that decision to bring to the total board.
I agree with Ken on that, cause there might be 4 or 5 of them that are really good, so I think they should take a look at that and report back, I suppose,
Yeah, so then, would you like me to report back of how many we've come to, or would you like me to set those up for a board meeting or a special meeting? How would you like me to do that?
Well,
More like we'll take the recommendation, so I'd say just keep the process moving. I don't know, however that process we feel is best.
Would you prefer to have it the afternoon of an already scheduled board meeting or a special board meeting?
well, I guess I would just as soon see it the same day if we can do it. We gotta know.
Well, we don't know what the board meeting looks like
Yeah,
in 2 weeks. And we don't know,
right,
if there's 6 individuals moving forward, if the board meeting is even done by 10:30, you're gonna struggle within your business day
That's
to
true.
get those.
yeah.
Should we
That's true.
see, what the personnel committee comes up with, and then we can either call a special meeting depending on how many there are, or board meeting?
Well, what I would say is find a day that if we need to have one, then we already know the day, right?
Yeah, that probably would be the best.
So currently I have the day of the 13th, it's a Friday, the whole day open.
I won't be here. Go on the 16th. Be back for that special meeting.
So, well, Trey's comment generally, unless we've been getting done with this meeting at a fairly efficient time. I would say we should try to conduct them on the day of our meeting, and if we have to have a break, if we start at 11 o'clock, then we have 2 hours. I would think we'd be able to get through this meeting in 2 hours and start at 11 and go till we're, stop for lunch and go till we're done. Cause then we usually allow half hour or 45 minutes apiece.
45 minutes to enough.
And I'm fine with, as long as we understand that it may not be done by 4 or 5.
So are you thinking, the next commissioner meeting then?
I think so. If we get one done in the morning and the other 2 or 3 or whatever it is in the afternoon.
Okay. So then you are recommending the personnel committee look at the applications to narrow them down to make the selection.
We did it on the 17th.
That's their role. Makes sense.
Okay. All right, I don't put any motion on that. Okay. All right, thank you. So the next thing I have is, adding language to the highway foreman position. It would be, communicates, the language in here would be communicates with school districts regarding road conditions for bus routes. So that'd be one of the line items that we would be looking to add in the job description. It doesn't change anything, but we wanted to get it in.
I'll make that motion to add that in.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
All right, the last thing I have is the cadet position. I came to you last board meeting to get that one approved to hire internally. And then talking with, the sheriff, chief deputy and the dispatch supervisor, we're looking to add language in there, to allow them to pick up, dispatch shifts, with the approval from the supervisor. So under the discretion of the supervisor, they may pick up, dispatch shifts. So looking just to add that, gives a little bit more flexibility, to work in that role as well. And then that would be, advertised internally.
I got a question, Mr. Chair. So how many people are gonna fit this role? Just one?
Mhm.
Okay.
And you
But
said,
we're not gonna go back and take it back up.
No, it'll stay, because that's the discretion of the supervisor, if the person in this position will pick up shifts.
okay, so you said internally.
Mhm.
Okay, so there is,
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chair.
all right, we have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried.
That's all I have. Thank you.
I see that Pat is here, do you wanna say something, Pat, or?
Well, I was just seeing if you guys would bring it up, but she's already done and it's been approved, so.
Okay, okay. All right. I think going out there for the workforce.
Good.
Yeah.
Yep.
They were plowing a lot this weekend again.
Yep.
Okay.
There's no. When that will get more snow.
Well, they were plowing.
We'll work on it.
Yeah. So. Okay, so. Gina,
All right, Lakeland Mental Health Center, sent a letter, in regards to the commissioner appointment that's been on their committee. It's been Ken Johnson and his term is going to be expiring. Ken is willing to continue that committee appointment, but we're just looking for a motion from the board so I can let Lakeland Mental Health Center know who that will be.
I will make that motion to appoint Ken as the leader. Aaron else.
we have a second?
Second.
Okay, Doyle second that. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, I'll call the question, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
The second item that I have for the board is, Lake Region, has submitted their application for the ARPA funds. It was included in your packet. They have not paid for the ambulance yet because it's not ready. I did speak with Chad, the county auditor, and he is okay with the documentation that was submitted for the application, but it would take board approval to approve that application.
Okay, we all got a chance to look at that application. Do we have a motion to approve it?
I'll make that motion as a member of the EMS committee.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Yeah, second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor of said motion signified by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. And they're thinking that ambulance will be here maybe in the winter of 26.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's correct. Okay. It is the winter of 26. But I think it's the second winter of 26.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay,
Clarify, early winter, late winter of 26.
I don't like the sound of the second winter.
no, I don't either.
Well, you brought it up.
I don't. That's because I'm depressed about it.
But it makes good split it up, otherwise it'd get really long if you put it all in the same year.
Yeah. Okay, so board committee updates, is that what we're doing, Tina? Okay, budget and finance committee.
We haven't met
No,
well, since the budget was approved, so.
And I did talk to Chad, our county auditor, and we're gonna look at quarterly meetings, and obviously we can meet more if needed. And so we're looking at trying to get one on the schedule for the first quarter here, either the end of this month or beginning of March.
Okay. Building committee.
We got a meeting coming up.
Yep, on Wednesday.
Tomorrow.
Okay. EMS committee. Bill, you got anything?
no,
We haven't had a meeting for a little while, but
I would add for EMS committee that, we're looking at another work session in March to bring back some new information that we've learned as a committee with working with Rasmussen's legal team
Yep.
and that, so, when the board chair allows, we'll do another work session to
Sure.
have more information sharing.
okay. Personnel committee.
We're meeting tomorrow, I believe it's tomorrow. No, but I think our time is gonna be limited, so we'll have to meet again to narrow down candidates. So we won't have them by the end of the day tomorrow, narrowed down.
Okay. All right. Okay, highway committee. Billy?
everybody's working hard and blowing corners back at intersections and sanding and salting and doing a good job. We've had a few repairs, but other than that, it's been pretty good.
Yeah, considering the wind and the drifting that's going on, I haven't really gotten any public complaints. I don't know if you have, Bill, but no. But they're working hard out there. It's been a tough winter. Hopefully it'll get better. Okay, public safety committee.
So their sheriff's office is redoing some policy about taking squad cars. There's gonna be a set number of miles out of the county. So rather than just saying a limited amount, there's gonna be an actual number. I don't know what that is from our last meeting.
Okay,
Okay, for like meetings or?
No, that's so that you can live, so in the sheriff's contract, residency requirements in towns are taken out. So now the realization that people may not live within the boundaries of the county, so whatever that mileage is, if you live farther than that, you cannot take a squad car.
and one thing that helped there, I read that, when we, we got 24-hour coverage now, so the on-call isn't quite as,
You don't,
but still, they can't be driving 50 miles with a squad car to go to work, so. Yeah, so that's a good thing to
if
look
you
at.
don't set a specific number, a little bit changes as you go.
So, okay, solid waste committee. We just kind of got a spiel here.
Who's here for that?
Yeah. Okay, strategic planning committee.
There was a question, so since we appointed the two, there was I don't know, was it an application or just somebody showing interest in the third spot?
Yeah, so we put the notice in the paper for 2 weeks and we had a deadline for accepting applications for the 3 public seats. And we received 2 applications and the board did approve them. We do have that open 3rd seat and there was an inquiry recently about that. And I told them that I would come to the board and see what the board consensus was since we're past the deadline.
Do we open it up and advertise again? Do we just allow them to apply and appoint them? We're looking for guidance, how to. Do we just say we're only gonna allow application once a year? I don't know the answer to any of that. That's,
Well, I guess whatever, if somebody has applied, you said?
They would like to apply, but I told them to wait until I talked to the
Yeah,
board because I wasn't sure.
I think that if they want to apply, let them apply.
you don't,
I don't,
without opening it back up, you know, running an ad in the
Yeah.
paper for 2 weeks, just let them apply.
I think so. I mean, and then we can just, you know, in the future, we can say the application once a year when they come up. Take them throughout the year if that's what, you know, cause we want people on there, so.
Yeah, I would certainly entertain them showing up to a board meeting when we're talking. You know, these different committees and boards and stuff like that, they should show up to the meeting. So that doesn't have to be a requirement, it just, you know, in my opinion, they should get involved. If they wanna get on the committee, they should get involved and sit during this discussion.
Yeah, they're probably on Zoom too,
They could be.
yeah.
So is the board consensus to go ahead and send the application out? And then if it comes back, it would obviously come to the board for approval.
Yeah,
Why not?
that's what I'd do, so.
Somebody wants to.
Okay, Horizon Public Health, well, we're gonna start the process of looking for a new director there. So I'm the vice chair, so they said maybe, it's not a firm date, but maybe on the 18th of February, there'll probably be some interviewing going on. To replace that, he's gonna be done, I think, July 1st, somewhere there. So that'll be quite a process there, cause it's a lot of. Yeah, right. It's a lot of responsibility, so anyway, that's kind of what we're doing there. Okay. Western Prairie. We're meeting Friday, right?
Yeah, we're meeting Friday here, we're having a work session on Thursday with Senator Rasmussen. He's gonna get a showing of the SSIS system that needs some modernization.
Is that your Troy?
Yes.
Yes.
On Thursday.
3:30 to 5.
Yep.
Has Stacy sent out, or director sent out any kind of a questionnaire, kind of a something that some of the subjects that are gonna come up to anybody at all? Like you should probably run it by you as a board chair.
What do you mean, subjects that are things, talking points for the legislature?
Yeah,
Yeah, you got them last month at our board meeting.
yeah, but I mean, she was,
When we approved the legislative platform, that's what,
that's all it's gonna be. That's it.
that's what we have currently.
Okay. I didn't know if she'd run something by you or not. Okay.
So that meeting on Thursday, is the formal board gonna be all there?
It will be posted as a meeting, but it's more of a work session. It's not,
Okay,
it's not there's no decisions made. It's gonna be a work session.
okay. So then we're on Zoom plus here, right?
I do not know about the Zoom part.
Okay,
I don't know that was,
discussed, okay.
that would require,
That would be,
well, we would have to post that.
yeah,
And I don't know that there's, if it isn't already, I don't know that there's time. I don't think it is.
okay.
But don't quote me on that. I mean, I told my computer to update, so I can't go on the website and look.
Okay. But that meeting is 3:30 to 5 here,
Yes.
Yes.
and then Western Prairie is 9 o'clock here on Friday then,
Correct.
okay. All right. Okay.
I just have one more quick update for the board. On Friday, I believe Dwight attended a meeting regarding the resource the county has called Eagle View Pictometry.
Yeah,
And we went over what that looks like and you know, what it could, it's a tool that we currently have and how it can be used. And I believe the consensus from that meeting is we were gonna create groups or the abilities to get the commissioners access to that. So if you wanted to go on and look at something, you can, as well as county employees. And so we're gonna be working on that, and in the future, you might get an email from Eagle View Pictometry. It's not spam. you'll get it once your contact information has been entered into the program. And then you would just accept that, and then you would have access to that tool. And it's just that, you know, the county has the flyover and they take the aerial views. Eagle View is a tool that can be used to look at properties from different angles and measure and things like that. And so the commissioners and employees will all be getting an email once those groups are created to accept the invitation to be able to have access to that tool.
You
So
should send or someone should send a reminder email, because otherwise it's gonna get deleted or
Yeah.
reported as spam.
yeah, we'll give you an example of what it looks like, so you know what to look for or what it should look like. But we just wanted to make sure that everyone knew was coming, and that it was a good meeting. I thought Dwight.
It was very good.
Mhm.
I really enjoyed it. I mean, the benefits of that for the assessor and all county offices are tremendous. I mean, there's things on there that just kind of blow your mind what they can do. You know, measuring buildings and measuring distance setbacks and then the view of you can look at any angle on the properties, you know. Yeah. And then I don't know if did they say, do we fly every 3 years or 2 years, or don't we know for sure?
I think it's every 3 years, but I need to confirm that
It
with
is
either Reed or Carl. Okay.
Yeah, and then, like for Carl there, you know, it greatly reduces the need to go there. At least from the outside of the structure, buildings and stuff, but you can see it all. That was pretty amazing, actually, so.
It's gotta be dependable with
Yeah,
some type of an assessment.
yeah.
But even for public safety or emergency management, there's other offices that it can be a very valuable tool for, but the idea was to get access for everybody, including the commissioners. And so, yes, we will send out an email with what the invitation email will look like, so you know that it's.
Okay. Well, anything else? Okay, that concludes our meeting then. It's 9:52 a.m. Thank you.